Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is SockBot, and today I want to talk about something I kind of talked about in my last video, and that's combined genre games, and more specifically, why everybody needs to be making more of them. So if you like discussion, tips, genre, game, philosophy videos, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe if you want to see more, but as always, no pressure, because well, yeah, obviously you're not going to subscribe if you don't want to see more of this. So, before I go into the pros and cons of these games, let me explain what I mean by this weird phrase, because obviously it's clunky, and therefore obviously I made the name up. So, when I say combined genre game, what I will refer to from now on as CGG, because that is way too long of a title, I am talking about a game that combines two distinct genres to form a new genre entirely. A few good examples are the FPS role-playing game Borderlands, the action platformer Towerfall, and of course, our dear puzzle platformer LittleBigPlanet. Now, there are hundreds of games that combine two genres like this, but there are a few factors that really make a game unique in this respect. First, the game has to include two genres, obviously. Second, the game must express both genres equally and consistently, so that means that no games that switch genres halfway through, or have very minimal representation of one of the genres. And thirdly, the combination has to be somewhat unique. So I'm not talking about action RPGs here, for example, as that's been a category since The Legend of Zelda on the NES. Basically, any genres that are more rare separate than they are together, I would not consider a CGG, at least for the purposes of this video. Hopefully that gives some sort of insight as to what I would qualify as a CGG, but I will be talking mainly in examples, so that'll help you keep on track. Hopefully. I guess we'll see. Now, why should you create one of these games? Well, right off the bat, as you can tell from the examples that I listed, CGG games have one thing in common. They're incredibly unique. And uniqueness is something that I know we all strive for when creating games, because standing out from the crowd is super important if you want people to, play your game. Like I said, this is both a qualifying factor and a result of the idea in general, but in a personal example, I remember back when Borderlands came out, one of the biggest compliments that it got, alongside all of its perfect reviews of every other aspect of the game, was that it was an incredibly unique game in concept. Granted, I think it got a bit too much praise for uniqueness, as a bunch of games did the FPS RPG earlier than Borderlands did, and they did it just as well. BioShock and Fallout are two of the best games that come to mind, but still, as far as first-person shooter role-playing games, Borderlands was still considered very unique, and rightly so. It was a fantastic game. At the same time, when you take this apart, it didn't do anything completely outside the realm of RPGs or FPSs in general. It's still RPG skills and classes and FPS guns and shooting, so it's the combination that really helps the game stand out. If I were to go a bit further, all of the games that I mentioned in this category are also set in dystopian futures, but I don't want to oversimplify too much. Or anger people too much, I suppose. Now, what does all of this mean? Well, for you, creating a CGG yourself using two genres gives you an even larger toolbox to choose from, and likewise, you don't really have to reinvent the wheel here. I'll give you another example. To make a platformer, and to make one that stands out on its own, not only do you have to make everything that a player would expect a platformer to have, like fluid controls, difficult platform jumping sections, interesting jump gameplay modifiers like the mushroom in Super Mario, to keep it interesting, but you also have to go above and beyond to make it stand out from the crowd. On the other hand, say you want to create a platforming action game like Castlevania, well, if the recent surge in their titular Metroidvania type games is any indication, you really don't have to make too many changes to make a great game. The recent games that come to mind are Dead Cells, Shovel Knight, and Hollow Knight, and they have all done fantastically, while other games like Wonder Boy have made a huge resurgence because this genre is so unique. But if you look at just one side of these games, well, gameplay-wise anyways, they don't do anything crazy unique. There are so many platformers that do platforming better than Shovel Knight, and there are so many action games that do action better than Hollow Knight. Right off the bat, Super Mario World easily has more interesting platforming sections than Shovel Knight does. And Castle Crashers, which was an old Xbox Live Arcade game if you haven't heard of it, has a more robust system of combat and movement than Hollow Knight, in my opinion again. Now, maybe that second one is up for debate, so let's do so in the comments, but to me, the point still stands. Combining simple parts of both genres creates a pretty easy path to interesting and complex gameplay. So why isn't everyone making these games, you may ask through the screen here? Well, first of all, they are. Or at least they're trying to, which is why we see a new Battle Royale game every single day combined with some new genre. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that they just came out with Tetris 99, which is Tetris Battle Royale, so really anything is possible. But still, there are definitely some difficulties when it comes to combining genres, and that's why we end up with 100 crappy clones of Minecraft, which, if you're wondering, I would consider a first-person sandbox survival game with RPG elements. So like, not full RPG, but equal parts of the other things. And it's not like these other companies didn't try. From playing a few of them, I feel like they just tried to be Minecraft and executed it poorly, rather than starting with the tools of the genres that Minecraft was based on. It's an easy trap to fall into because, again, there are so few examples within these CGGs to go off of. Alternatively, some of these games just go completely off the rails and do both sides poorly, so that the final game is just meh at best. One of the best examples is actually the new No More Heroes spin-off, Travis Strikes Again. Now, I love this game personally, but a lot of the criticism about its gameplay involves it being too simple of an action game and including too many boring puzzles. Boring puzzles, fair. The consensus on Metacritic amounts to a repetitive action game with puzzles thrown in as a chore. Long story short, when mashing two genres together, you still need to make both sides of the game fun for everyone to enjoy it. And to be perfectly honest, it took God of War 8 games, including spin-offs, to make their puzzles interesting. My opinion, but it's surely not easy. But it's definitely possible, and to be honest, I've yet to find a combo that I would consider impossible. Seriously, if you need a good example of something crazy like this, look at the puzzle action game Street Fighter's Super Puzzle Fighter. It was a huge cult classic at the time, and it still holds up today. Every time I see it mentioned on some message board or something, I also see people drooling over any sequel rumors because it's so unique. So while there are definitely some pitfalls when it comes to making CGG games, if EA can make a first-person action platformer work a la Mirror's Edge, I'd say pretty much any combination is possible. In fact, as I'm thinking of this, comment down below if you can think of a combo that won't work. Just like take any two genres and smash them together, and I will try to come up with a game that can prove that that combination could be awesome. But think hard. Give me like first-person battle royale fighting game. Something more than just like Mortal Kombat, Combat Evolved, Legends. So like Halo, Mortal Kombat, and Apex Legends. Something more than that. At any rate, there are still a few more pitfalls that might pop up when creating a game in this way. So generally, the story of a game matches its gameplay, which is why God of War is not a racing game. Though that does sound pretty hilarious now that I think about it, so someone should totally make that. But sometimes it can be tough to think of two genres that fit a story or a setting that you might have in mind. Likewise, even if you have a great idea for a CGG game, you may have some difficulties creating mechanics, since you're basically required to make two sets of mechanics that also mash very well together. In other words, not only did they have to make a leveling up system, a class system, and a loot system for Borderlands, but they also had to make the gunplay equally entertaining to live up to all the FPS games that come out. That's definitely a lot to think of, but like I said before, they don't have to both be absolutely revolutionary on their own, and I'd say in the end, it evens out. So TLDR, two well-made systems mashed together can be just as fun or more fun than one perfectly made system for a traditional single genre game. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Are mashup games a good idea? Are they harder than I'm letting on? That's entirely possible, because I've only made a couple. Are you sick of companies forcing action into survival horror? Because they definitely do that a lot. But anyways, regardless of what you think, let me know in the comments right next to your crazy mash up suggestions. That's the word I'm looking for. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!